Welcome back to Close Encounters of the Tech Kind. I'm John. We're going to have a fantastic conversation this week. The biggest story that I saw was one on vacuums. Guys, I'd love to get your perspective on this. How'd you like to control your vacuum with your PS5 controller? Somebody tried that. Another story we're going to talk about. I got some thoughts on AI and jobs. I want to expand on what we talked a couple weeks back. Sam Altman gave his perspective on some of his fears. He's watched the sci-fi films we have. What is he afraid of out of the system that he is building? ID laws. We've talked about these, but I've got a different take on things. I want to talk about where these ID laws are going to push the technology, where they're going to push the users. Where are we going to go next? And then speaking of where we're going next, Microsoft has seen where users are going. They're going away. They've now pumped the brakes and said, wait, no, come back. We like you. So we'll see if they'll follow through on that promise. And then if we get into a couple other things, we'll talk about how Google has positioned themselves in the market. I think they might even survive the AI wars. But those stories and more are coming up with Mike.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Jackson.
Howdy do.
And Artie.
Somewhere out here.
Somewhere. So welcome to the show, everybody. We're going to get into this with the vacuums because I couldn't stop laughing when I heard this. Somebody wanted to control their vacuum and accidentally tripped into 7,000 vacuums. He wasn't just controlling his. The controller backfed into the cloud and gave him access to 7,000 vacuums across the world. The story came out of The Verge this week, so I know they did their homework on it. I hope they did their homework on it. But yeah, I would love to grab my vacuum and go Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style in the vacuum. Just clean the living room, clean the halls, clean the bathroom. Just take it for a ride down the stairs, maybe, just see what can happen. But you know what the worst part of this is? You could activate the camera.
There's cameras on these things?
Yeah, collision avoidance. So these are the DJI Romos, not to call out a specific brand, but they did, so we will. So you got cameras, you got the 2D map of the house, you got the IP address. A lot of personal information got exposed on this. That said, I want this controller on my robot vacuum. I mean, that's...
Well, who wouldn't? It's kind of fun to say, turn off the autopilot and I'm going to go vacuum something. Why not? And I guess that's what led to this accidental discovery of a huge security flaw in Romo's cloud.
I can see it now. Two people, they've got their vacuums on the street. The flag waves and they take off.
I mean, so you've seen those vacuums. You've seen those engineering. I don't want to degrade them, but like they hop up their lawnmowers. They're riding lawnmowers. I mean, why not do that with your robot vacuum too? Have jousting competitions. Who can clean the living room the fastest?
Find out which one sucks more.
I think you're talking about Robot Wars.
No, that could be fun.
So, I don't know. Like, just me personally, like the idea of using a game controller to run the vacuum around to vacuum the house, that actually seems to me like that would be more cumbersome than just going and grabbing a vacuum and just pushing it around like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have a hard time with RC cars, like I can play with it enough to have a little bit of fun with it, do some, donuts on the kitchen floor or something like that, but like to actually steer it and go in places I want, I mean, half the time the alignment's off on those things anyway. So it's like you got to counter steer it or adjust the trim or something. And I just don't see that as like, I get that there's people out there that's like, hey, what if hey, can I, and they see the challenge. It's like challenge accepted. I'm gonna make this work. But from a practical standpoint, like I either
Mike, you can
let it
vacuum your
let do
entire
the
house from
autopilot.
your couch.
Like
Right? That's where I'm at.
I think that's going to
Put on
take
the
a
first
long
person
time.
goggles.
Like I could vacuum my house, like with a traditional like Hoover vacuum that you push with your hands. I could vacuum my house in like a quarter of the time that would take me to do it with a game controller and a robot.
Well,
So
I
I
mean,
want to
all,
I want to get one, and I want to dress it up as Kirby.
It's my Kirby vacuum. Get it? Yeah.
well,
Oh,
I
that would
don't
be
think the
cool.
point of it was to just make it so that you could vacuum yourself. I think he was doing it just kind of just for fun, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I see
Yeah.
that there's the challenge, I mean it's like, let's interface a milkshake machine with my Nintendo Switch or something. I mean, there's no practical reason to do it, but hey, he did it. So there you go.
Unless you're fixing a McDonald's ice cream machine.
Hey, they can do
Houses
that
are always
now.
broken.
Well, here's the other thing I was thinking of. What you can do is you strap a phone with a hotspot to it, and now you can go off road. You can go anywhere with that thing. You can drive it to the store. I mean, they're not necessarily all terrain, but if you find a decent enough sidewalk, you could get pretty far from your house. I mean, just think about that. How
Fun.
many people? How many Romo users didn't know that they had a remote like a I don't know, a remote controlled from anywhere robot that they could just drive around town.
Okay, so if Mike, you've got kids, so you would know the joy of chasing the kid with the vacuum. This takes it to a
Mhm.
whole new level.
And terrorize the dog with it. Or
I mean, you
cat.
could have a lot of interactive, gleeful, joyful fun. Don't terrorize your kids, right? I'm not advocating that. But you could have, it's all fun and games till the toddler stands on top of the robot.
Right.
Well, I mean, we're talking about all fun and games here, with this, but there is an actual serious security concern that came about
Yeah.
because of this discovery. Like, let's not forget. I mean, he connects up his PS5 controller and then discovers, hey, like 7,000 other vacuums have responded all across the world. Now I have video access into other people's homes, remote control, along with their floor plans, the status updates from these vacuums. I mean, you can see everything. So that's freaky.
So was
Very
this a
freaky.
flaw in the API he was using, or was
A
it
bug, it's a feature.
oh yeah. I mean,
They just didn't lock it down.
did they didn't lock down the information, or that's interesting.
From what I can tell, it looks like they reused API keys.
Oh.
So when he entered it in his thing, it entered it in for multiple other devices.
7,000 other devices.
Oops.
Now, could you imagine all 700? I mean, synchronized vacuuming. They all move forward. They all go
They
sideways.
all went forward except the ones that ran into a wall. They all turned left. That would be.
I mean, watching just one go off its rocker like that would be weird. But I mean, if you got to watch all 7,000 synchronized swimming, that'd be hilarious.
There's games like that where all the robots respawn and you have to like figure out the maze like to get them all to different spots. That'd be quite the game to do 7,000 of them globally around the world, or at least the US.
Without falling down the stairs.
Right.
Yeah.
The good news of it, DJI has been informed, and they have stated that they are currently working on a means to patch it.
Well, that's good.
So it's a race. Other people who want to do synchronized swimming with the robots or DJI. Place your bets now. So we've talked about robots doing manual labor and how that's going to offset things. I think anybody that's watching, go check out some of our previous episodes. The fear that I brought up was losing the labor to robots. I've got a new fear to implant in all of you, and I want to get your thoughts on this. AI's taken the low-level jobs. We're actually seeing a push back on that. Tech companies are now hiring back those low-level entry jobs to be human instead of AI. Triggered a thought for me. Okay, so AI has now learned how to do the entry level. What's next? Since it knows how to do the basics, let's promote it. Let's put it into a management role. And so these low-level workers are going to have midline managers that are AI instead of humans, because it's just a basic in-out decision. It's not a complicated decision. No disrespect to any midline managers out there, but a business decision is usually set by corporate policy. And if an AI manager is holding the corporate line, why not? So I think it's not blue collar jobs that are going to get axed. I think the next ones are the white collar jobs.
So you're telling me I am going to have to submit my TP reports to AI?
Your TPS reports must have a cover sheet, or the AI will yell at you.
I need to
So,
watch that
so are
movie
you
again.
trying to say? Are you trying to say that we thought AI was going to take all these grunt work jobs? They tried and it didn't work, or it did work so well enough that it's also now taking the low level manager jobs. Is that what you're saying, or which is it?
Yes, it worked well, and it didn't work great. So they've learned that there's some things that you need the human touch, because
Right.
AI, as good as it is for if then else, and let's be clear, AI can think a little bit, but it's really just if then else. If it hasn't seen it, it can't do it. Most of the management jobs over the ground team, I'm talking like next level up, they know what all the issues are because they've seen them. Okay, 99% of them.
So I had a discussion with some friends of mine that I was actually helping them through a computer issue. And while we were waiting for BitLocker to unencrypt their hard drive, which is an interesting story for another time, we were just, chewing the fat and talking. AI came up and everything. And you said something that they actually mentioned too, that if AI hasn't seen it, it can't do it. And what we were actually talking about is we were talking about the creative aspect of AI. Like AI, for the most part, can reassemble things it's already seen in different combinations, and it makes it look like it's creative. But to be truly creative, they don't believe that they've ever seen AI come up with something uniquely new and different, and to be creative. And so now I think about when you're talking about like these lower to mid-level management jobs, and you think about the regular human being that does the stereotypical climb the corporate ladder, the guy who started in the mailroom and then years later finds himself up in a C-suite or something as a vice president of whatever department he got good at. And I got to think that the reason why stories like that happen is because the person, one, worked hard, obviously, and built up some trust and relationships with the other people he was working on, with his managers or with coworkers or whatever. and worked really hard to do his job well. But when they got into those positions of being a low to mid-level manager, I got to think that there had to be some creative thing that they did differently that made them stand out from his peers, from the other
Mhm.
low-level, mid-level managers, right?
Yeah.
So if all the other people are just following a script, I was promoted to this job and they just told me here's my responsibilities and I just check it off and I follow the script. Yeah, a computer AI is going to be able to do that. And when the problem comes, it's like you said, it's an if then. Well, if the mailroom catches fire, then we do this. And if this happens, then we do this. And and there's a whole bunch of if thens that it knows how to respond to that to manage the situation or the team or the department or whatever it is. But it's going to be those people that truly come up with a creative idea to do something that's not in the script that says why are we doing it this way, because we've always done it this way. Well, how about if we change it and we do it this way now because 20 years ago things were different. We need to adapt to change. And so finding those ways that they can adapt to change and think creatively, that's where we're still going to see the need for human jobs until, heaven forbid, at some point we figure out how to give AI that creativity that actually works,
It'll take
and
time.
it'll take time. And I don't know that.
But the decisions that it makes, like you go through management training. There's a very specific rule set that each company gives your manager to say, this is acceptable, this is the responses, this is what we're willing to do, this is
Well,
what we're
yeah,
not
it's
willing to do.
the company rule book, and here's the policies, and follow the policies, follow the procedures, follow the rules, and make it happen.
I think it's easier for a manager at this point for a manager to get replaced than it would be the main person taking the call from humans.
Right.
Here's what I'll say, and I think it's totally dependent on the industry you're in. And I think, with this discussion we're having, I don't think my original opinion about AI has changed. I have always said that, because people ask me, they think I know anything, and I'll pretend like I do for now, But
I don't think AI has that. Well, maybe AI does have that ability.
but,
ChatGPT, how do I feel about AI?
Confidently
So,
wrong.
but I mean, people have asked me this because people ask me, "Oh, what are you studying?" I say, "Oh, I'm studying computer engineering." They say, "Oh, you're not worried about AI taking your job?" I'm like, "Well, no, because I mean, I actually create things. Like I engineer stuff. I have always said your job will get replaced if all you do is grunt work. If all you do is follow a set of instructions, that's something that AI can replace. And I don't even want to say AI. It's something that a bash script could replace, if you think about it that way. I mean, of course, AI is usually is able to do a little bit more complex things given less instruction, right? And so when you were just talking about, okay, it's actually just an if else if then, or if else. The way you just described it literally to me sounded like it's just a different programming language.
Mhm.
Now ignore that. Okay, yes, AI is let's call them an LLM, large language model.
Right.
Do a lot of things that aren't coding. But I feel like for me, it makes a lot of sense when you put it in coding terms. If you in coding, you start with assembly. Assembly is like it's CPU instructions telling the processor exactly what to do. Put this thing here, move this here, add this. That's assembly. From assembly, you go to maybe, at least in my knowledge, you go to C. Let's say that. You're probably skipping, there's probably some other layers in between there, but we'll call it C. And then from there, maybe you have C++, which is kind of the same thing. And then another one that everyone's familiar with is like Python. Python abstracts a lot. Every layer is abstracting things. When
Mhm.
you're in Python, you say, okay, I want to do this thing. It's very rare that you would go and code all that up yourself. You would go find a package that does it for you. It's part of the known Python library of things that are commonly done. It's known. It's been done before. So when we're talking about AI and we're talking about this, is like it can't do anything it doesn't know. You're essentially telling me, okay, you're gonna have to write that package if you want AI to do it. So it seems like the exact same thing to me. Is AI can't do something that hasn't already been done or hasn't been written, if we're talking in coding terms, like a Python package. And
So
so
here's
And that's exactly
I'll
where our
let you finish it. Yeah.
and so all I'll say is when we're talking about replacing jobs, if your job is simply executing instructions, even though it's in a managerial, I don't know how you say that, position, um, if it can be done like that, then AI is going to replace you. But I totally agree with the fact that AI can't create it. It's unable to.
the discussion I had last night, the way I talked about it. So then they asked me, like, they said, so do you think we're going to get AIs that are like specialized? Like I said, yeah, because they're working on that right now. Every industry is working on their own specialized AI. They want a specialized medical AI that can diagnose. They want a specialized law AI that can look up and reference case law from anywhere in the country or whatever. But it's all going to be based on the input that it gets and everything. And the other thing you hit on, Jackson, like I liked when you brought up Python, because one of the aspects of Python, like when you're dealing with a variable and you tell it to print the variable, let's just say, it doesn't matter if the variable is a number or a string text or a floating point number or an integer number or maybe just a binary number. Like it figures that out as it goes. Like, whereas you go back a step where you said C, like everything is very strictly typed. Like if I didn't type it as a string and I try to output it as a string and it's really a number, I get an error because I'm not handling it with the right functions or the right calls or anything like that. And so as you get in those higher and higher level languages, I can see the same thing with AI, that there's a lot that AI does to determine the context of the discussion or the question, and then to determine all the different variables that you've given it. You know, here's my problem with this. Okay, all right, we're talking about an automobile and they're talking about it's a Toyota and they're talking about their starter motor. And so then it helps it narrow it down and figure out what kind of an answer it needs to give you. And it's not going to give you something that's completely wrong and different, like a number when you are expecting letters. So it's very good. That's the other part of the discussion too, is that I think of it as like a very sophisticated search engine, whereas we Google something, even just a question, and we get 100 different results, and only like the top 3 or 4 might have something to do with what we actually asked. And the rest of them, we have to sit there and sift through it and look at it and decide, did this search result come close to answering my question? All the AI is doing is processing all that for us to decide, okay, what's relevant to the question and what's not. And it's like probabilities, context, there's all sorts of calculation that goes into that, I think, to determine it. And then it presents an answer like, okay, in the English language, how would I phrase this? And it puts the language together that makes it more natural and easy to understand and summarizes the search result for us.
So, I mean, yeah, I think I hold my original position. And even then, it's like, even those doing the grunt work, I think AI has proven that, let's say, in its best state, it gets it right 95% of the time. But that means 5% of the time it's getting it wrong. And me, when I'm doing my own projects and I give something to AI and I say, hey, solve this problem for me, unless I already know how to solve that problem, I can't just look at it and say, like, okay, that looks right. So then at that point, I have no idea. Is it giving me the 5% where this is garbage and I'm going to end up, is this going to cause issues later on in my code or whatever? Or am I getting a 95% where I know and that 5% is, even if it was just 1%, That's all it takes for me personally to be like, okay, I don't want to use it to just write everything for me. And in my eyes, it's not good enough for the grunt work.
Right. True
Um,
story. Asking
so
AI about a formula, it gave me a formula that had two constants in it. And we treated them as hexadecimal numbers. Now, AI also told me the decimal values that were supposed to be used, like explained the formula, but used decimal values. But then when it did the code, it used hexadecimal values, right?
mhm.
Okay. And I was going in circles because this formula was not producing the result that it should have produced. I had known inputs with known outputs, and I was not getting the same result, right? So I finally dumped it into a different AI. I started with Chat GPT, and I think I ended up moving over to Claude or something like that. And Claude, when I looked at the code, I realized that one of the constants, when it did the hexadecimal version of one of the constants, the hexadecimal was different. And so then I was like, whoa, I took a step back. I whipped out my programming calculator. I punched in both the hexadecimal numbers to see which one was right. And Claude's was correct. The conversion of Claude's hexadecimal number to what the decimal number was supposed to be was correct. ChatGPT's got it wrong. It kept telling me, oh yeah, it's this number in decimal, but the hexadecimal version was absolutely wrong. It was off by quite a bit. And that's why I wasn't getting the results I wanted. I was just like amazed. Like, it's just proof that at least in the case of ChatGPT, it can spit out some output, but I don't even think it can't consciously, for lack of a better word, process what it's actually telling you to know, like, wait, is that right? Like, I
And
just told them
that's the
this,
failing.
and I just told them
That
this, but does that really convert to the right number? Like, it looks good, so that's the answer, you know?
well, that's the failing of large language models is they're not reasoning.
Yeah.
There is some reasoning on the other side, but it's just autocomplete on B12, B6, caffeine, and maybe some other illicit substances. But it goes and creates new words that it thinks are the right words. But here's what we have done is when we're trying to replace jobs, we put them in tech support roles, we put them in frontline, the call queues, that kind of thing for companies. We're actually giving the AI the training model on how to interact with humans. What are the various things that are going to get asked? How are they going to be responded to? What did the managers say in those exceptional situations? So now it has an understanding of that tier one, that entry level. I'm saying I think they're going to take that training model and apply it to the next level up, the management. So you take people with reasoning abilities, and then when they need a manager's approval, they go to the manager's AI and say, may I do this? Or the customer wants to return their skateboard, or whatever it is that they've whatever situation they've run into. The management is going to be the next career path that is under attack. Now, let me give you some hope, guys. How do you avoid AI from taking your job? Man, that
Be
sounds bad.
competent.
Grammar's bad.
Be competent. That's all I know. I've
Be
talked
just
with
a bit better than competent.
Be
these
better
days that's
than
hard to
not
come
good
by.
enough. The number one thing that I've seen from experts and AI people, it's there's jobs that AI is not going to take for 5 or 10 years. Your plumbers, your electricians, your car mechanics, all those places where there was a pushback a couple decades ago to get auto shop taken out of schools, wood shop taken out of schools, and put in tech labs. I think that was the wrong move. We need to keep the trades alive because that is what people are going to do when all the things that are coding and programming are now done by the AI?
Yeah, I had a question that I wanted to ask, and I fear we kind of moved along, but going back to when we talk about AI taking the managerial position, uh, what has been your guys' experience with AI over the phone? Call a company, AI responds to you over the phone. Because I've had pretty good experiences actually. It's been much more efficient than either the call menus or even getting to a person. It's usually pretty quick because it'll actually do what I tell it to. And so I'm curious at what your guys' experience has been. However, with that same one that I liked, I called the same company back and I said, "Hey, I have this issue," and it was an issue that I knew that the entry level was not going to be able to do. They had already tried implementing a managerial point where they actually can go in and start pushing some serious buttons. Um, give some context. It was Xfinity, and it was trying to deal with a router essentially over the phone, trying to fix something. And the AI, the tier one, like you're talking about, tier one AI was able to answer all my questions and give me right answers quickly. And I was like, okay, that's exactly what I need to know. Thank you. And then I said, okay, I need you to do this now, or tell me how to do it. It wasn't gonna let me do it, and said, okay, I'm gonna go do it. And then it, put me on hold for like 2 seconds, and it'd come back and be like, did it work? And it never worked. So I went on a loop for like an hour trying to get this thing to do something that a regular manager would have to do, and it didn't get that far. So I think, John, now thinking about it, I think you're right in that aspect of things like that, where there's a script that you kind of follow and prescribed solutions. I could see it taking that role, and I think they're trying to, especially with that example with Xfinity.
It's the midline managers are the ones that implement policy that is designed from on high. And those are scriptable jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, crawl your way out of middle management. It's not a place to live if AI is coming for your job. But, let's I want to keep this moving forward. Sam Altman, he was in a conference, and I saw just, one video of this, so I must be an expert on it now. He was given the question, you've seen the science fiction videos. You've seen the movies where robots take over. What keeps you up at night when you're designing these, thinking machines? But I'll skip over the first couple answers. His third answer is the one that got me intrigued. He said it's going to be people are going to give up their decisioning to robots. They're not going to do the thinking for themselves. They're going to let the AI do their decisions for them.
Yep.
So I went and saw a movie over the weekend. Has anybody heard of the movie Mercy?
No.
Oh, go
I
see
think
it.
Artie's looking it up. I can hear him typing.
Kind of. I'm aware of it.
Yeah, we saw like just a couple advertisements for it on whatever streaming we were watching at the time, last week I think it was. And so for Valentine's Day we decided, hey, let's go see a movie and let's go check that one out. And it's still in the theater here, at least in town. That was an interesting movie because it deals with the intersection of AI versus, the privacy things that we've talked about, flock cameras, things like that. And on one hand, when it starts out, it can scare the pants off you about where maybe we're going with all this AI, and especially with the image recognition aspects of it and everything. On the flip side, I think it kind of leaves the viewer with the question of whether it's justified. But it does have the challenge there where you're talking about where in the not too distant future that society at some point has decided to hand over the decision making to an AI and to let it be ultimately the judge, jury, and executioner, as it were. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting movie. If anybody's seen it, put your comments of what you thought about it down below. Love to hear about it. But yeah,
check that one out.
go check it out. I recommend it. You guys go check it out. It had me on the edge of my seat for pretty much the whole movie, just to find out like how are they going to get through this? How are they going to solve it?
What was the name of it again?
Mercy.
It's got what's his name? Chris Pratt in it.
Chris Pratt,
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
Huh,
I
I
will
haven't
have
seen
to
any ads or
take
anything
the
for it,
homework
so I'll
challenge.
watch it.
And that's one thing I miss, Mike. I mean, back when you and I were growing up,
Mm-hmm.
it was a monoculture. There's 4 channels on TV. We knew all the cereals to buy from Saturday morning cartoons.
Right.
The news was the news, and there was nothing else but that.
Mm-hmm.
The sports teams, I mean, just video games, it was all just one track. And now there's so many tracks. Blockbuster films fly past me, and I don't even know they were out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting world we live in. Well, speaking of interesting, ID laws. We've talked about that. I have a thought. I had a lot of thoughts this week, guys. I apologize. Artie, what are you doing? You're like typing or something.
Sorry, I'll mute myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a metronome. It's kind of cool. So here's the thought. ID laws are going to step in. I should say have stepped in, and they've shut down a lot of potential exposure to children getting to sites that they shouldn't. That was the goal, right? Let's prevent them from getting where they shouldn't. Okay, that seems like the wrong approach. We've shared our thoughts on this before. I don't want to get into that, but I do want to get into Mike, you remember what it was like as a bulletin board surfer. If the bulletin board's modem pool is full, what do you do?
Go dial a different BBS
Yep.
until let some time go by, spend my time somewhere else until I can get in.
And if that second
Which
one's
in a
full,
lot of cases with all the BBSs I dialed, there was no modem pool. It was just a single line. So if the line's busy, you got to wait 20 minutes or whatever it is for the user who's currently using it to be done and get off. So yeah.
Jackson, what do you think is happening right now?
Oh, you're gonna have to be more specific than that.
What they're finding is people are getting around using VPNs, but it's worse than that. If you want to go to a site with, let's just generically say, adult materials, and you hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, you're going to find a website that has materials you're looking for that are not blocked. Only the sites that are paying attention to the rules and following the rules are going to be, the ones kids and unless you ID check, you can't get to it. But the internet's the internet. The internet was built without borders. The internet was built without politics, without any of that stuff. So you can go anywhere in the world. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of websites that have the same content of what people are looking for. So those are gaining in popularity.
Yeah, I think I see where you're going with this. I totally lost my train of thought. Sorry about that.
I could take it to maybe a little bit. I mean, you go to a news outlet and Like I would roughly say that about half of the ones I visit are behind some kind of a paywall. Like they'll maybe give you a free article to read, but once you've read that free article, anything else you try to click on, you'll get to see like the first paragraph, and then it's like, hey, continue reading this by becoming a subscriber. So do I frequent those news outlets? No. I go to the ones where I can get news for free.
Yep. It's that paywall that makes you go to the next site.
Mm-hmm.
I remember what I was
and you can
gonna
only,
say here.
yeah.
Sorry, but
Go for
finish
it.
your thought.
No, the paywall makes you go to the next site. The ID wall is going to make you go to the next site just as quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I was going to say with that is, what I have discovered is if it connects to the internet, there are a million ways to do whatever it is you're trying to do. You can't lock down. Truly, you cannot lock down a device, or you can't restrict someone's access to the internet partially. It just doesn't work. There are so many workarounds that there's just no way. And you try and lock it down with laws and say, okay, well, you have to do it this way. You have to gather everyone's ID, which again, we've already talked about it. It's the worst way you could probably go about it, and it's not going to work either because the nature of the internet is to give access to anyone and everyone.
The thing that I'm hearing several vocal people on the internet saying is, instead of dumping this money into effectively prohibition, we should be putting the money into education. What to look for,
Yep.
what to keep you out of trouble, how to stay safe, proper etiquette on the internet. How do you talk to somebody? How do you not talk to somebody? If something goes wrong, how do you report it? That kind of thing. But I don't know, it just seems like the wrong tool for the right job.
Yeah, and I think they're also going under this guise of, and I don't know if you necessarily want to go down this route, but I mean the whole requiring of ID
We'll follow you.
laws. The whole requiring of ID laws, they use the protecting children as a mask to get your data, right? And I think that's primarily what this is all about. Is they want to be able to collect your data so that they can sell it, and that's what we're seeing with Discord has been in the news a lot lately for starting to require people to send in their IDs, and then lo and behold, there's a data breach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all agree, yes, let's protect children, but we don't agree on the methods, and the governments seem to be trucking forward with these broken methods.
Well, what an interesting challenge we've given ourselves of, I want to surf, I want to have protection on my identity so that it doesn't get stolen. These sites have to literally take my identity so that I'm proving I'm me. And then they store that identity so that the next time I visit, I don't have to enter in driver's license or passport or any of that stuff. So they house my everything they need to spoof my identity. So what a rich target that is. And it's not just one target, it's all the websites that are subject to these regulations.
Mm-hmm. We've just expanded the attack surface to be the size of the world.
All the websites.
Essentially. Yeah.
It's not the broadside of a barn.
Yeah. I mean, they're taking something that was literally built. I don't want to say built for this, but it was built on this of anonymity, and then you're trying to take that away. And by so doing, you put everyone at risk because of the required data collection. And now it just seems like we're all getting screwed over.
I might add to that some of the stuff that they're discussing is to remove encryption entirely from the internet. And I think we can all agree just how the internet would not survive without encryption.
Well, and they just rolled in a new encryption level for iPhone to Android for text messaging. What is it? Not RCS. There's a new protocol they're trying to push in to allow end-to-end encryption. So we got different competing interests here. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I'm just going to choose the best way forward. And if I need to provide my ID, I might not do that because I then surrender them as custody holders for my ID. I'm not there yet. I don't trust them. I barely trust myself on the internet.
Yeah,
well, speaking of not trusting.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm going to
segue. We love internet delays. All I was going to say is I don't think there's any two ways about it. I don't think there's any reason for you to be housing my ID. I don't want to give it out because I know that you guys are feeding it into your AI, you're collecting information and then selling that. And that's just the business model of the internet these days. So, I mean, for me, if you're requiring my ID, I'm out. I'm looking for any other alternative.
So we're bringing back the internet of old. If it doesn't go where you want, I'm going to go somewhere else and go where I want.
Yeah.
It's a resurgence. It's a revival, guys. The internet is back. I heard a joke. The internet is 5 websites, 5 big websites that are all copies of the same content of each other. The same meme can be found on all the other sites.
Well, I mean, when you say it like that, I mean, that's kind of hopeful. I would hope that because they're pissing a lot of people off, and they're starting to piss me off a lot. And maybe it's just because I've been more involved with it lately because, we do this podcast and we want to talk about these issues. But I mean, I hope that they step on the right people's toes and they decide, you know what, I'm going to make the tool the way it should be done. I'm not going to be a corporate a-hole, and I'm just going to provide a service. And I hope that's the way we're headed, and it doesn't just, it's not a hydra that we just keep chopping heads off and the next one turns out to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you're right in that, in which we start seeing more quote unquote competition.
It's going to be a good one. Well, speaking of companies losing market share, Microsoft, they have just recently said that they want to keep their customers, right?
And
so they're going to stop this push of AI into everything, which Notepad, I mean, why do I need Copilot in my Notepad? My Notepad used to be the sanctuary to copy and paste data and remove the formatting, remove the hyperlinks, remove all the garbage. Notepad was the safe haven for all things. You copy that, paste it where you want, and it's clean. Not anymore. Copilot's going to help you with that.
It's so funny you mentioned that, because as I turned on my computer this morning, all of a sudden this new little app popped up with a window. Welcome to Copilot. I'm like, what? Where'd you come from? How do I disable you? Never been on my system before. I've never opened anything. I've never clicked on anything. It just showed up.
You remember how Facebook used to change their settings?
The layout.
I'm aging myself here. 15, 20 years ago, they would do new layouts and your security settings and all your preferences get reset.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't ask for it, but it's there. Copilot's doing the same thing. You didn't ask for it. You didn't want it. You don't want it in this app, but too bad. It's there. I heard a joke, and I had to share it with you guys. Microsoft has named everything Copilot. Like they just rebranded the Microsoft 365 into Copilot.
Mm-hmm. Which 365 used to be Office, right?
Yeah. Well, and so think of this. They're naming everything Copilot. which means any user that has a bad experience with anything named Copilot is going to hold that opinion for everything named Copilot.
Named Copilot, yeah.
Mhm.
Just don't take it out on your actual co-pilot flying your airplane from, Denver to Florida. I'm sure he's doing his job.
And that's the thing is I don't think Microsoft thought it through when they started pushing everything as Copilot and how Copilot was going to be the end all be all. It's everybody universally has said, we don't want this. So Microsoft, thankfully, they've announced this. Let's hope they actually follow through on it. Their newsroom said, we're going to stop pushing AI. We're going to start focusing on the basics. We're going to focus on user experience. All those stupid pop-ups, all the nagging things, we're going to try and reduce those for the common user.
That
I think they should never have been there.
That sounds way too good to be true, John. That sounds like that's a whole 180 from Microsoft we've known for the past like decade or two of, the operating system is no longer designed to function, it's designed to extract money from you. And so I'm very pleased. I'm not yet optimistic because Microsoft has killed my optimism, but this statement does sound very nice okay, we've realized, actually none of you really like using the AI features and you guys keep telling us that you hate it. So we're actually going to focus on fixing bugs and stop these blue screens of death and all these misbehaving applications. I'm like, so you're saying you're going to build me an operating system again?
Well, I mean, I think they were paying attention to the numbers and watching the adoption of Windows 7 spike. Like, we killed that years ago. Why is it back? Oh, maybe let's rethink this, guys. And, and that's the best case scenario for them to lose it to their product that they've sunsetted. Worst case, they lose their engineers, the people that are supporting systems, or worse yet, people that are designing the systems. They get into the Linux world and make some of those distributions rock solid. Make it a viable alternative. Or just go buy a Mac. I'm not a Mac fan, just full disclaimer, but it's definitely not Copilot written.
Yep, that's true. I have my own problems with Mac as well.
So it's an interesting one.
We shall see.
Unfortunately, I think we're actually out of time. Where does the time go? My goodness. Well, we'll circle back on we'll circle back on Google and how they position themselves in the market to avoid the AI apocalypse. But stay tuned for that one. If you have any questions as to what we're talking about, or you want to push this conversation forward, we'd love to hear the comments. We do read and respond to all the comments you push, so keep them coming. Until next time, I'm John.
And Mike.
I'm Jackson.
And I am Iron Man.
Well, that's good news. At least we got Iron Man flying us back home. Good night, everybody.